Y'all should, in your briefing books or in your budget books, have the complete 2021 budget. We have been saying for a number of weeks now, if not months, that we're trying to keep this a flat budget. There were some increases from the department heads, but other than that, we pretty much have the same budget as last year. We did have a couple of changes, and we can note those as we go through. Like years past, you guys just ask questions, and when you start going down, if you want to go line item by line item, we can certainly do that. If you don't, then I'm fine with that as well.
What are the major changes from last year?
Major changes. Well, we'll get right to it. Your M&O tax, your tax rate is going to stay the same. I've got your M&O rate at 26.85, which is down from last year, and your interest and sinking rate is up to 26.82. That's 0.2682, 0.2685. But your overall tax rate is still the same, 0.5367. When we did our calculations, and Larry typically gets us, he'll send us the certified totals, and then we'll get a worksheet the next day. We didn't get it for a couple of days after, and so when I started looking through his worksheet, the value number that we calculate the rate off of, I estimated it was about 530, and it actually dropped to 508 million. So in the last 2 years that we've done the budget, you've seen a $50 million increase in that number. This year, that number is now, it's a $32 million increase. I think that's a direct impact of COVID. I have not had a chance to talk to Larry about it, but I think that's an impact of COVID. Regardless, that is the number that you're going to calculate off of. And so your M&O taxes will go, your levy will increase very slightly, but it will increase somewhat. Your sales tax, I was hopeful to get sales tax in today for the month of August. We did not. True to form, we'll probably get them about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. But we budgeted a $100,000 increase in sales tax. That's typically what we have done year over year. We also made a couple of adjustments in some franchise fees. TXU Electric went from 165 to 200. We brought in 200,000 the last 2 years, and so we feel very comfortable with that number as well.
Head count? Head count staying flat then?
Head count?
Labor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And Ms. Galley had asked for, and we had done this 2 years ago. I don't think we did it last year, but we will do it again this year. When we do the final budget, you'll have an organizational chart as well as an FTE by department. I'm trying to figure out how if we're going to do a visual on that or just a document. But you'll get an FTE count as well. By and large, your largest number of FTEs will be in public safety, fire and police.
Is anyone asking for an increase?
In salaries?
Budget?
Fire and PD asked for small increases. I think fire was 8,900. Yeah, I was going to say less than 10,000, and PD was about a $12,000 increase.
Okay. And I think you said we were down in court, is that correct?
Yes, we are down in court. And I want to have I'll have Jake discuss that a little bit more at the during the council meeting when we go through the June financials. I think we're processing the same number of tickets. I don't know if we're getting the same number of judgments, but that is something that I'm looking at, and I need to visit with the judge about and see what the issue is there.
Well, we did not drop the
We didn't drop-
revenue.
yes.
So we're staying with our budgeted, even though we're at
Yes.
40% instead of 75?
I'm waiting to see
Okay.
if we're not getting, why we're not getting the prosecutions, I guess that's the best way to say it. Why are we not getting that revenue? Is it a COVID thing?
Okay.
It's a COVID thing.
It is?
The fact that we're having to delay all the
Because
court
they're pushing
processing?
them out, Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
By Supreme Court, we can't put warrants on, we can't do anything with them, because they put it out till October.
okay.
We
Okay.
were down last year though, weren't we?
We were down last year a little bit, yes. Yeah. We've
Well,
been
you-
down the last 2 years from budgeted. I think we were at, I want to say 85 last year?
So,
Yeah,
85%?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, that's better than the 40 and
yeah.
20-something we're seeing in the,
Yeah, we're.
doing this out of order, doing third quarter
Yes.
after we
It
do
would,
the
it
budget.
would have been nice if we
Yeah.
had Jake come in and then.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
That's okay. I can read one document and translate to the other, so. Okay, well, I did have that question.
That is, of all the revenue streams, that's the biggest concern that I have, but it makes sense because you're pushing things out till October. I think we'll see, I know that Kerry's issuing the same amount of citations, so I don't think we're not seeing less offenders. I think it's just a matter of prosecuting and processing those violations. Is that a fair statement?
Fair Midland.
Fair to Midland? Good Mexican food in Midland.
Did you have any other highlights from budget? I noticed travel expenses
Yes.
across the board went down. We anticipate less travel.
We're anticipating less travel. TML, for example, canceled the Grapevine convention, so it's going to go virtual. I've left it up to staff. If you want to do a virtual meeting, by all means, you're welcome to. It's hard for us to do virtual meetings here because we're just so close quartered and whatnot. But yeah, you might have some statutory things that we got to do and we'll have to attend and have to sit through. But I don't anticipate a lot of travel this year. I don't, y'all, the two chiefs can speak. I know that, I don't think we hit y'all's travel budget at all. We hit mainly council and admin, and I didn't hit public works at all. Yeah, reduced development. Bernie was wanting to go to Long Beach, Mississippi again, but the two chief, y'all can do a lot of your stuff at TCC, Fort Worth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
COVID kind of messed that up for us. So,
My level can, but I'm required by statute to attend a 40-hour session every 2 years, and they're just random where locations are picked.
okay. Is that in person as well, right?
Today it is.
Okay. What about Public Works?
So we're doing all of ours through Tarrant County right now, so it's just traveling back and forth.
Okay.
Are we fully staffed in Public Works?
We had we lost an employee last week, and I think we're fully staffed outside of that.
I did have a resignation yesterday.
We had another resignation yesterday. Okay.
So we're too short?
Right.
At the moment. Is that, we'll talk.
They're still in the budget, which is what we're discussing.
The FTEs are in the budget, yes. Water is pretty much the same. We did increase water usage a little bit. We kept pretty much everything else relatively the same budget-wise. We did add the Fort Worth water debt to the water department. That's going to be about $265,000. We are working with Hudson Oaks to get an invoice to them for the next fiscal year budget. We actually have a $50,000 payment to make September 30. but we'll split that 52-48 as well. The other debts that were in there, we've updated them since we put this in the budget book. Your debt services changed. They increased about 3,000. And next year, one of them will actually drop off. So we'll have a little bit of cushion next year as well.
So you anticipate INS rate going down next year because of that?
No, this is water.
Just in water?
Yeah, this is
Not
water.
the total,
Yes,
okay.
yes, yes. I think we have, I know we paid off one of the interest and sinking last year. I've got a spreadsheet. Your interest and sinking rate, really, to be honest with you, it's going to count on what that value number is. If you have the same COVID number, there's no guarantee of what that's going to look like. Our debt next year is right at 1.6 in
And what
interest.
is it this year?
1.54.
Okay.
1.549. And so, we still have about a $70,000 net after expenses out of the water fund. And we also have some wiggle room and some other line items there. I was going to visit with Michelle and see if she, there's some vehicle line items that we could probably utilize somewhere else if need be. We put that in there last year for a dump truck, but we have funds to pay for the dump truck out of proceeds from an equipment sale from, 3 years ago? Yeah, 3 years ago.
Okay.
We sold a bunch of paving equipment.
I remember that.
And we still have 100,000 plus, 125 plus. Yeah. Wastewater, probably the most significant increase here is your debt service. The debt service on the package plant went from interest only to principal and interest. And so that went from 75,000 to 265,000. And so that is due February. Part of the 17 million that we've applied for is to refund this note. And so if you refund this note, and if it works out that it's in February or whatever, but if we're going to refund this note, then clearly you won't have that 265 in there. It'll be pushed back to 21, and it'll be refunded at 7 basis points. Section 11 has got some of the attachments to it. It's going to show you the same spreadsheet that we've done in the past. 508 million is the certified total. I've got the spreadsheet. I didn't include it in here. I will if you want. It'll show you how we came up with how Larry came up with the 508 million. Couple of things I want you to look at though. If you look at your taxable non-frozen value, it went up 6.74%. Typically that's going up roughly around 10%, and so for COVID I would think that's kind of an off year. But if you look at your tax frozen levy, it went up 15%. And over the last 3 years, it's averaging a 10% increase every year. And so what that's doing is, that's not a value, that's not a rate, that's actual cash that gets split between your M&O and your interest and sinking. And so that is not concerning to me, but we're going to have to figure out moving forward if that's going to stay the same. And that's typically your 65 and older exemption and things of that nature. It makes it a little challenging. That number keeps growing faster than your values are. Even when you had a lot of increase in value the year before, it was the tax frozen levy percentage-wise was still greater. The next chart is tax revenues. Obviously, these are the taxes you pay, not water, sewer, but taxes that are paid. Your M&O is going to be roughly 54%, and your sales tax is going to be roughly 45%. And then you've got smaller taxes, but clearly that's the bulk of your tax revenue is from M&O and sales. It's a good, healthy mix. I'd like to see it more 50-50, but I think it's better than it was a couple of years ago. The next chart is your government expenses by the departments, and that kind of shows you where you're at. 34% is for your police and 29% is for fire. If you take strictly your M&O and your sales tax, 90% of tax dollars are going to public safety. So in a time when other communities are cutting police budgets or defunding police completely, we're still maintaining and trying to service these two public safety departments at 100%.
Thank you.
Thank them.
Amen.
Any other questions for Brian?
Road went from the road budget.
Yeah, it went
We
from
still
150.
have something.
We have 75,000 in there for road improvement. We also, with city services, we increased parks from 5,000 to 30,000.
Okay.
I have a question for both chiefs. Chief Honor, you first. PPE and supplies, I saw that number did not move at all. Is that your typical face mask, hand sanitizer, stuff like that we would need?
And bunker gear.
Right.
And bunker gear cleaning, it's now been increased from once a year to now every 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why that number has maintained that level.
Do we see any kind of potential increases in that number at all with COVID still?
I don't anticipate it. I anticipate it staying within that realm. A lot of our bigger PPE, the important ones are the masks. And we're taking those out of our medical ones.
Okay.
Well, we get reimbursed for that through the COVID grant, up 53,000 and change, I think, and then we go from there.
Chief West, same thing. You're going to be okay on having PPE?
We've actually, as far as hand sanitizer and that sort of thing, us and Fire both have gotten some really, really nice donations from a variety of sources. And we've purchased in bulk once they became re-available. So we just made a pretty big purchase that will see us through for a while.
Okay.
But they're available now where when this first started, everybody bought them.
Mm-hmm.
So our concerns aren't as elevated as they were initially. So right now we're good.
Okay. Good. Just want to make sure everybody has what they need to stay safe.
Anything else?
Couple of things scheduling wise. So SB2, which was passed 2 years ago, or last year I should say, has changed the way that we operate. Two things, the vernacular has changed. The effective rate is now called the no new revenue rate. The rollback rate is now called the voter approved rate. They still haven't changed any of that, and we are going to be above the the no new revenue rate, but below the voter approved rate. The notices have changed, and I got off the phone with TML an hour ago. We had been talking about 2 public hearings, and I was operating under that assumption that SB2 had changed, stayed the same. I was reminded this afternoon it had changed. So if it's okay with council, we can do a budget hearing on the 25th of August, provided we get a notice in the paper this week. We had to do a 10-day notice. And then we can do a tax rate hearing on September the 8th and adopt the budget and the tax rate on September the 8th. So you can have your rate hearing and adoption on the same day now. It only requires 1 notice in the paper for the tax rate. It's a very meticulous form that the comptroller put out.
So that'd be our first meeting in September.
Yes.
That's basically the same schedule we had set.
What we're saying is we're not having we're not having a second meeting on the 1st of September, that we were going to do a.
Got it.
We have one the 25th, and we have the
25th and
one,
8th.
we have the one the 8th to adopt it.
Yes.
Okay.
And we are in compliance then at that point with SB two?
We'd be,
compliance with
we'd be in
SB2.
compliance with SB 2, yeah. TML just told me that. Tomorrow morning, we need to get the ad in the paper. We'll put it with, we're gonna run it in both newspapers. With the situation at the Community News, I don't know what that's gonna look like, so we're gonna put the budget hearing notice in both the Democrat and the Community News.
Okay, everybody put that on the calendars. Anything else, Mr. Grimes?
What time do you want the budget? Y'all wanna do a 6:30? You wanna do a 6? Y'all, what time are y'all comfortable with?
6:30,
Only 30 minutes earlier.
6:30?
Yeah, I have 6:30 on the 25th.
Okay.
For some reason, I have 6 on the 8th, but I
Tell
think
Brett,
it's
tell
been
Greg
changed.
6:15.
You wanna do 6:30 on
Yeah.
both?
6:30 on both. Yeah.
6.
6:30.
6, Greg.
Either way.
Wait, now you're
6:30.
confusing me.
No,
No.
I'm just telling
Yeah.
Greg a different time.
6:30.
He'll be here early.
6:30 all the way around.
Okay.
Obviously, if y'all have any questions or concerns, this budget can change. So any suggestion that y'all want to have, let me know, and I'll get with the appropriate department head and move forward.
Do we need a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Council meeting starts in 17 minutes.